fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna just start. I'm gonna delve right in. Can you tell me a little bit about how you would define yourself in terms of race and identity?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of my race, I am Black British. I think it took me a while to figure out what that actually meant. I didn't understand that until I got a bit older when I was at university. I grew up in a very white dominated space in Essex. In our primary school, there were two Black people, me and my younger sister were the only two Black people in the school.
Wow.
So a lot of them were white Irish. So maybe at the time I thought I was Irish for a time. I don't know what was happening there. But I think going to university and being around more diverse people and meeting more Black people, I realized that I wasn't quite first generation, not even second. I probably sit within third. So I say I'm Black British, probably third generation. That's the way I see myself. And then in terms of that's kind of more my race. And then in terms of my identity, I'm a cisgender woman. That is me. I plan to stay that way. I haven't got a desire or thought to perhaps change at any point. But those people that do have those thoughts and feelings, it must be quite difficult to not be yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If I'm gonna go over, let me know if I need to like add
No. This is gold dust for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think just thinking, going back to my identity as well, like it changes sometimes. You have to kind of like code switch when you're in certain spaces. So I often go between a Jamaican accent because my mum's friend Peaches raised me pretty much in East London, and she was from the land of JA and had that accent and taught me how to cook, like, you know, rice and peas and season mutton properly, and my mum as well. And then when, before you know, then the inner auntie comes out. I call her Funke. She will just come out and be like, what's going on here? And then she will have that voice in my head as well, and I might go into that. So much as I do touch in and out of West African and Caribbean culture, I do know where I sit. I'm very much Black British with a Nigerian heritage that is still very present in my life. But when it's time to go to Tesco's, I will stand in the queue. I will not run to the front because I'm British, and that's what we do best.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. If you could invent, I mean, you touched on this about being present in your identity, but if you could invent your own ethnicity box, on like application forms and stuff like that, what would he say and why? What factors?
That's interesting. So I definitely, the Black British element, I'm not against using that term, but maybe an element about my generation, because I feel that there's a difference between if you came to the UK on the Windrush, how you see the world, to if you've been in the UK perhaps since the 80s, and then like myself, growing up in the UK in the early 90s, early 2000s, because your thinking is different. I remember my mum saying to me like, oh, you know, you shouldn't change your job. At least you've got a job. It's good that they're giving you a job. They're being nice to you. Like it was, we should be grateful to have employment. And I've seen other aunts and uncles probably say in a certain field, whether it's hospitality or the cleaning industry, because they're grateful that they have an opportunity to work there. Whereas my generation is a bit more like, okay, we've got more ambition. We kind of want to be change makers in the space. And there's no harm in wanting to make money and not worry about not being your authentic self. So I think there's a bit about generational identification as well that we don't talk about. You know, baby boomers versus Gen Z versus millennial. I think I sit in the millennial idea, but in my head I'm still 21. Just want to put that out there.
Well, you look 21, so
thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you. But I think just again, there's a thing about not. I sometimes still worry till today coming across perhaps too ghetto or too hood in a weird way. Even though I sound like me and the Queen of Friends, when I'm ready to bring it arms house, I probably will. You know, but again, it's that constantly having to be professional all the time. And I'd like Black people to be seen as professional without having to act in a Western way. That's the little thing I could create. That was my dream.
Wow.
You know, like, I don't know what to call it, but just see us as like, we are professional. We don't have to necessarily have our hair straight, be a certain way for you to see us as that. let me see, well, my wig is off and I'm professional when my hair is picky, or if I've got pick and drop, if I want braids, whatever.
Yeah.
I still think about, oh, can I have that hairstyle? What color today? I want us to be seen professional in whatever setting that we're in.
Yes.
I've seen people who have a lot of money, who are quite wealthy, and they dress like they're homeless.
That's true. That's really true.
But they have the respect, and I'd like to have that for us. So yeah, just professional Black person, aka Black British, all the way.
Yeah. You've kind of touched on this, and you mentioned your mom and your auntie and your friend. That so my question for this one is, what factors or person do you feel help shape your identity?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I think my mum. I think she taught me that you need to understand different types of people. And for you to kind of get ahead, you have to listen to people and observe people. So I think from looking at different ways of the way people are in terms of like their personalities or the way they talk, I really love reading. That has shaped my whole language. I think it shows that from the start, me and Harry Potter, we were there at the beginning and we're still there now at my age. But reading is something that shaped my identification as well. But also look at my mum, and she broke the Black stereotype. So she wasn't angry all the time. She wasn't shouting in the street. She was always very calm in every situation, which is hard to do when you're in a place where that is predominantly white. But she always remained calm no matter what, and thought about people's feelings and considered other people. And I think that's probably changed the way that I am. Whereas I've seen other friends or other people that I've seen, or unfortunately how TV will often represent Black women, that Shaquanda is shouting, her teeth are all gold, you know, she's got this tight lycra top on that looks like it's tight strapped around her chest, and she's got the nails that look like talons. And actually, there is a different type of Black woman. They don't all have to act in that way. Absolutely. So I think it definitely challenged the idea of what it is to be a Black woman in the UK today, and probably taught me from birth about professionalism before I even got to workplace as to what that was. So I think there's a bit there about her influence over me in just looking at things, taking a step back and being calm, and not allow me to use anger as the first response to a situation. Whereas I've seen other people that they go straight to anger first and figure out the rest later. So I think that my mum's been key in doing that. And again, because she was born here, but her family she was second generation. Her family are from Nigeria. So she understood both sides in a way.
It's interesting you mentioned books. Books has always been my escape, and there's part of my life where I read a book and I can connect with the character or the author in a way that is very authentic, but it doesn't matter what race the author is. I can still connect in a very genuine way. One of my all-time favorite writers is Machiavelli. And I like Machiavelli is because of his forethought. He's a reactionary person, but his reaction is often like 5 years down the line. But it's that I like strategy. A lot of people who kind of like sit there and take all factors into or all matters into equation and actually make a decision that they don't have to lift a finger, but it can be very, very impactful. So let me stop rambling on.
Okay. But I think just on the book thing, I think you're right about the differences of authors. I remember every summer as a child, I used to go to the library and I just pick up books and be wheeling them on a little cart back to my house to read the summertime. And as I got older, I used to go to Asda at the time, and books were like £1 at Asda. I just pick one at random and just read. And it was a book that I read that I absolutely love. And it's so random. It's by Frank McCourt. It's called Tis. It's actually about the potato famine in Ireland, which has no kind of like definition to me in my culture, but it was written so I feel like I was there in the room with the lack of potatoes. I was in the characters and I was seeing it, and I think the language was so beautiful and so romantic to describe the pain and suffering that they were going through at the time, but yet still had the family core as part of their strength. So there is value in reading outside of your your typical kind of like books, you know. But I think
Yeah.
more recently, I have been made a much more of a conscious effort to read more Black authors
Yeah.
that are more up and coming. That's
Yes.
been my thing, to support those that are writing now.
Yeah.
So things like the Black Girls, Slaying Your Lane is one of
Yeah.
them that I've read.
Yeah.
There was an amazing book. I can't remember the name of the book. That's also really stressing me out. It was so good. I'll try and find it for you. It was
Wow.
about an 18th century slave that actually was a lesbian that came over from Jamaica. And I at least read the book in about 2 weeks because it was just written so well. I'll try and find the name of the book and send it to you. But again, like, what an amazing story that was written by a Black woman.
Yeah.
That the American Black woman wrote about a British Jamaican slave.
Yeah.
What an amazing journey to go on, you know.
That's very interesting. It's very interesting also the connection of your childhood being in a predominantly Irish community and that story. One of the things that, you know, when I run workshop, I always tell people is that actually when we think about the British enslaving people, the Irish were there first. And people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you know, this is why it's so important to kind of like understand or have a little bit of a knowledge about the other, right? Because it can create a bridge for you know, compassion and also you know, collaboration. So yeah, I really like that. I'm finding a lot about you that all these years is wow.
We was always doing Shaka more. When will you have time to know what we're doing? So the book is called The Confessions of Fanny Langton, and it's by Sarah Collins. And I literally read it. I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put it down. I think it's going to come out as to me, it needs to come out on Netflix or a film. I'll be there at the front of the cinema because it was such a good book. Yeah, I like fiction, but also I like self-development as well. So I'm in between both usually.
Yeah. Wow, nice work. So again, I think you've touched on this a little bit, which is, can you describe any experience that made you aware? Actually, I'm gonna skip this one. I don't need this question. Do you remember what it was? I'll start again. Do you remember what it was like for you before you were initially aware of your ethnicity? Which again, you touched on a little bit at the beginning.
I do. I was free.
Can you repeat that? Get it? Word again?
I was free.
Interesting.
I was free to play with my friends, to go to school, to learn, to discover new things. I was free. There was no limitations on what I couldn't do. You know, I'd even say at that point I thought I was a superhero. I remember Jim Clark was across the grass at that time. I didn't understand what racism was. I didn't understand. I hadn't necessarily experienced the negative impact, any microaggressions, any racism, nothing. I didn't get it. I was free, and that's the only way I can describe it to you. It seems very simple, but that's it. I thought about what was I having breakfast in the morning. I thought about what games I was going to play at school. I thought about how I enjoyed having time with my childminders and seeing my mum and playing with my sister. I just was free, and it was a good feeling. And I think it's only when I started to experience racism, and at the time, for honesty, I didn't know it was called racism. Because a lot of these equality and technology is quite new. People don't really think about how new this language is. So microaggressions, these are all very much George Floyd kind of era talks. No one was talking about before. White supremacy, we haven't always discussed that at school. So how would I know? But definitely when I got more towards secondary school, I realized that I was different. So comments like, I remember I had my hair in like twists on the bus, and so they were throwing sweets at me and calling me Bob Marley. And obviously I didn't see it as an insult because I like Bob Marley. So I didn't get it. You know? But then it's like when you start liking boys and they're like, oh no, I don't like black girls. So then that comes when you start to realize that, oh, I don't like black girls. Oh, I like girls that have blonde hair. And I thought, well, let's get a wig. I can't be looking like that. I'm not for you then. You know. And then probably the way I was treated at school, because it's just little things. Like I remember teacher telling me, my English teacher told me, oh, Irene, you're so good. Your hair always looks so lovely. do you need to go to university? Why don't you go to college and do a BTEC in hairdressing?
Interesting.
And I just wonder, anyone else in the class, who would you have said that to?
Yeah.
And my grades weren't bad in English. Maths, diabolical. English, no. So it's just interesting that was something she felt she could let me know that I should think about. And little things like, you can't, when you're at school and you misbehave and you're black, and wearing mask in particular,
yeah,
you're called out. You can't hide.
Wow.
Isn't it
Wow,
terrible?
that's,
You can't hide. So yeah, before that time, I was free.
Wow. That's really powerful. That's really powerful. So so in a sense, sort of like coming out of that and being aware of it, do you feel like it constrained you a bit?
Oh, definitely. I 100% at school had anxiety, but just not having the knowledge of what anxiety was.
Yeah.
I couldn't name it, but I used to have like proper like palpitations. I used to get stressed about a lot of things at school, and I didn't understand why I always felt on edge the whole time. And as I came into my adulthood, I was like, this on edge thing, it has to stop.
Yeah.
Like, and I started to really tackle, well, again, working myself, understanding what anxiety actually was, and then doing the work in therapy to tackle my level of anxiety, because it was following me outside in places that I didn't understand. I didn't get it. But now looking back, I was a very anxious child, extremely anxious. And a lot of times, like, yeah, I'd be having like my heart would be beating really fast. I'd be stressing about something and just thinking this is normal. You know, and actually it wasn't normal. It was anxiety caused by the constant microaggressions, or sometimes the just constant direct racism that I experienced while growing up in Essex. So I'm not surprised that when I got to university, I ran to a black space.
For safety, right?
Yeah. And I remember every summer my mum used to, we used to go to Community Links in Canning Town. And
Community Links in Canning Town.
Yeah, she worked in Ilford. She'd drop us off halfway. We get the rest of that long number 5 all the way down to Canning Town. And we would learn about what it is to be black for the summer. And then come back 6. And then because she could tell that we were not exposed. And we needed to be exposed.
Yeah.
I remember going to Peckham for the first time and thinking, gosh, I can buy yam and plantain here and there's black people. I just had to sort of stand in the street looking around like, oh, Peckham, oh wow. You know, so there is a piece there about just not being accepted.
Yeah.
And anxiety was 100% part of that, but then not understanding what it was until I'd grown up.
Yeah. And
the impact had already affected me.
Wow. I do have a very humble connection to Community Links. I went to school in Canning Town. Okay. So I know Community Links pretty well. Up to the present time, can you say whether there are specific spaces or space you experience racism the most?
Okay. So what, you're looking more now or just across childhood?
Across, yeah.
So definitely at school.
Yeah.
That was a space where secondary school experience was not great for me. And then when I got to university at the time, there wasn't that many black people. And I think I probably experienced microaggressions looking back. But I was a lot more fierce at university age. I had enough at that point. So I was ready to just clap back on it 100% hard.
Yes.
So I was much more confident to kind of challenge it more. And plus I had more of a diverse crew around me. So, oh, other black people here, they feel the same way I do. So it was a bit different in that sense. And then I think thinking about more now, it's a smaller thing. So obviously I work in a position where I'm the person that calls out inequality in the workplace. So everyone's scared of me anyway, because they're seen as like the equality and diversity police. So they're very polite about me. I'd say places where I think I probably experience it now is when I go to the shop and I get followed by security guards in the shop. I've moved to a new place and there's like a really posh gym that's basically downstairs. And I walked in and they're like, oh, are you lost? Are you looking for directions? And I'm like, actually, I'm looking to sign up to the gym. I got money, mate. Like, it's like, but it's an assumption.
Yes.
And then more recently, we flew to America and we flew on premium economy because my feet can't have the flight sitting economy, and I'm there like this, like a sardine for how many hours. Exactly. So we got a really good deal. We just upped our tickets, and just being in the premium economy and getting the looks like, you're stopping here. You're not going back you're not going to the back.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's more subtle, but that's kind of where it sits now.
Yeah. And how do you feel as a Black person in these spaces? What are some of the feelings that come up for you?
I think in the workspaces, I feel angry because I wasn't being listened to, and the things that I had to say were very important. I wasn't just talking about them. I had really good ideas for the last project I used to work in. I wanted to kind of make that service. So I was working in mental health. I managed a mental health residency for 33 adults, majority of whom were Black. So I wanted to make their care better, and I wanted to really help them in a more meaningful way. And sometimes the standardized approaches doesn't work for Black people in different cultures. So when I was talking in a meeting, and the manager, who was white at the time, would be just disregard what I said or talk over me or interrupt me, I felt angry. Because it's not about my color, it's about what I'm trying to do. And because of my color and me being a female, you're not listening to me. That was the anger that I felt. When I was younger, I just felt embarrassed all the time. And I felt like maybe it's better if I was Becky or Lucy or Hannah, because their life seemed easier than mine. You know, we didn't grow up with lots of money, so then we had that factor as well, which does feed into a lot. That social economical factor feeds into it. They had the money for the pretty bags, I didn't. They had they could wash their hair and go swimming pool, come out swimming pool, my head looking, it's not how I entered. It's just that, always thinking about those things. Going on a sleepover, I had to wear a hairnet. They're laughing at my hairnet as to what it is. They don't understand. Wow. So it's more about embarrassment. But when I got older, it became more about anger. And then sometimes now, I like the fact that you have that assumption, and I love proving people wrong. So, there's a thing, I think someone said to me one time, do you speak English? And they hadn't heard me speak.
Wow, do you speak English? Okay.
Yeah. When I started talking, they were just like, oh, you even talking better English than me? I said, exactly.
Yes.
You don't even understand, why you have that perception of me. And there's other people that I've worked with, I did a bit of work around accents. I feel like there's not much respect for people that have different accents. And they might say things like in our language backward, but in their language, that's how the language is. It's set that way. There's no words for certain things that we have in English. So what can you say other than a noise? Even learning French, you say things like, I would say I'm 32 years old in English. French is like, I am of 32 years. I have 32 years behind me. So when you do direct translation, you're not going to get English the way you think. And I kept saying to them, like, if you have an accent, you talk another language. I just speak basic English. I'm simple. You can be talking French, Dutch, Greek. What a great accomplishment to be able to communicate in different ways. And but the accents are strong. Ask them to slow down. Ask them to explain what they mean. Listen. But I could go on all day. But like I said, it's just think about those feelings were definitely embarrassment, and lack of understanding, anger. But actually now, sometimes it's triumph, if I'm honest with you. So when they look at me in premium economy, they step back and just drink my little prosecco.
Sipping like,
Yes, with the finger up. And one day I'll be in business.
Amen. It's interesting because being a loud person, and that comes from having a stammer and various things. But I remember when I was in school, people used to talk about my accent. And then I went to Liverpool and I was like, what the hell are people complaining about me for? Right? So accent is a very, 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 very interesting one. So in terms of, you've given me quite a lot on your experience of, racism, but how does that make you feel about your identity?
It still makes you feel cautious. So I think I touched on being free earlier, because that was an amazing feeling, and I'd love to be free. I don't know if I'll ever be free in this space. And I say it because, you know, I am a Black woman in the UK.
Yeah.
So when I open my mouth, people don't assume that I'm going to sound the way I sound, because I sound like Stacey. And then when I start saying things that make sense, some of them feel a bit like, oh, well, actually, what do you know? There was that fight, that kind of like that power shift in a sense as well. And also, if I'm trying to make long-standing change, I have to be tactical, and I have to do some code switching, whether I want to or not, to kind of set the groundwork for change for a more longer term. This thing that I'm doing is beyond me. So that I'm always going to be cautious. And when I go to different cultures, I will always be the English Black woman.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I'm trying to talk Yoruba, and then that's like, look at me sideways. Your pronunciation is so but. Okay, yeah, it's not really great because I wasn't born in Critique. I was born in London.
Yeah.
But, so I can't be accepted there either. And then when I've come back from America, and they're different breed, I'm telling you, all Americans, I feel like they've come from a different world. They're somewhere else. I don't understand them. But their culture there is just like, you know, sarcasm is the crux of my humor. And I was sarcastic on holiday, and they thought I was being rude. So where am I going to belong?
Yes, interesting.
You know?
They can't take the old English banter then.
No, they look at you, they're confused, you're rude, ma'am, I do not understand. That's what you get out of them.
Wow.
But it's just that I'm always going to be, to some extent, cautious. I'd love to be free again. I don't know when that'll be. But I've accepted that now, you know.
Oh, interesting. So, which brings me on to my next question. In your experience, do you think society fully support and recognize your identity?
When they want to.
Okay.
So when it suits them, they're going to recognize it. So it means that we helped, I don't know, X amount of Black people get properties in the UK. You'll recognize me in that stat to make you guys look good.
Yeah.
If it means that we're not helping Black women who've got fibroids, supporting them, you're not interested. If anything, it's more of an annoyance. It makes you look bad. So it's just when you choose to look at the stats and how you choose to use them. Everything we do is for gain, unfortunately. So it's just about how you kind of manage it. And I think that's what it is. It depends on what the context is and who will it serve to know that I'm Black.
Whoa, that's strong. Okay. What is your perception on how other races, and I think this probably ties in with the way you finish off, how other races perceive Blacks?
I think the comment is, at least I'm not Black. I think that we are perceived as bottom of the barrel. I've got to be honest. Maybe in the programs like High Life that came out last year, and London to Lagos, I don't think Cup is helping us, if I'm honest with you. But, you know, everything is pink. But she is representing Black wealth. I just don't think they associate other races, particularly with the Asian community. I don't know how much, and more old school, not now, because people are more forward thinking, but when more old school.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like if I go to the hair shop, there's still not that respect that needs to be there. But yet you're buying and selling hair products that I need.
Yeah.
But yet I'm your core customer.
Yeah.
You know, technically I'm paying for the 7 houses that you have and how many cars and whatever you're doing. But
that's
the
big.
respect is not always there at all.
Yeah.
And I particularly from people from Eastern European backgrounds, we had the worst experience with those people and their perception of what Black people are really about.
Yeah.
But I think there are some people who understand. So I do think Irish people are quite understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on my experiences, I think they understand what it is to be different. Just looking back on where I grew up in my childhood. But obviously what I'm saying, it can't be generalized to everybody. Not everyone is like this. So when I'm talking, it's solely based on my personal experience. I can't speak for everybody else.
Absolutely.
And funny enough, despite what they think of me, I still wouldn't exclude them from the work that I'm doing. So to give a good example, we have obviously Black History Month every October. But actually, I think partway through July into halfway through into August is South Asian Month. And I make sure that when I'm doing my campaigns, I bring the same energy of jollof rice and chicken to South Asian Month as well.
Nice.
To recognize, celebrate the culture. So I don't hold it against anybody.
Yeah.
But there is a perception of, no. I remember one guy I really liked, like, oh my gosh, his name was Sad. I didn't even know him, and we just had this tension between us, like, oh, but I was not Pakistani.
Yes.
It was not ever gonna happen, and I wasn't of the faith either.
Yeah.
And there was a barrier there, despite that real connection and that real friendship.
Yeah.
That was never gonna happen because that barrier was constantly up.
Wow.
We could rave together, we could go lunch together, we worked together, like we had so much fun together, but it could never go further than that because that barrier was there.
Wow. That's quite strong.
Yeah, and I remember when I was younger, I remember we went on a double date with my friends, and I remember this guy, I think he was I can't remember where he was from now. This is like 20 years ago, somewhere from like South Asian community. I remember, like, gorgeous boy, had green eyes, and we had a great time. And again, it just, how far could it really go when you can't bring me home and say what?
Yeah, the meat cleavers came out for me, but hey.
So it's just like, yeah, and I think that's, I don't know, I'm not necessarily avoiding pursuing Asian men, but I do wonder if that's why I'm probably not pursued by them sometimes.
Yeah.
Just thinking back on my experiences. I'm quite open with who I like, and I don't have like a specification as to their particular cultural background.
Sure.
But I do wonder how that actually work. Because I've seen, and obviously growing up in Essex, East London, predominantly Bangladeshi, these are their ends. We're in their ends.
Yeah.
So,
the people in your environment, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. But I couldn't, that barrier was always there. Always.
Wow. So my next question is, how do other Black people in general refer to you in school or in the workplace?
How much time you got?
I'm gonna quickly switch this on.
Okay.
Because that light is annoying me slightly.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, if I'm thinking about, I'll touch on Black men. So growing up, I was always called Feisty because I was quite well spoken. So the Black boys at East London didn't understand me. Yeah. They didn't get it. They're like, what? What's this? I don't understand. Why do you talk? Why you talk very funny, innit? That was, I used to get that.
I remember those.
I used to get, oh, you're barefacedy, because obviously if they don't know what I'm saying, they assume I'm rude. So that's the assumption that I'm rude. If I was to talk to a guy or boy, whatever, he'd have to really be understanding of more open-minded for us to really get along. Yeah. Otherwise, it wasn't really going to work. So roadmen were never for me, to be fair to you. I did date a reformed roadman, and that was a clash of, maybe that's more my feminism, actually, to be fair to you, which is a clash of like wanting to be in control. That's not what I do. That's not how I was raised. I'm sorry, you know. So then there was that as well. And then when I've dated guys that were from like African guys, it was then like, you're English, you're English, you're English, you're an English queen. So it's just like, gosh, where do I sit? Because the English guys think I'm too English for them, and the African guys want to let me know that I'm English, and that's what they like about me. But then when we talk about more, being more serious together, and I'm not yielding, it's a problem. You're too English.
But they would date an English girl.
100%. But because I am Black, they want me to conform. There's a difference.
That makes sense.
Because I'm Black, I must be making banku. Because I'm Black, I must be doing so and so. So there's a difference between what they expect from other people that perhaps different cultures compared to me. Yeah. And also what their friends want them to have in a wife as well, or a partner. But our culture is attached, unfortunately, to the aunties and uncles in their ear and their eye. So if we still eat a wife is black, but she's not cooking banku, what kind of wife is that?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
But if the wife is not black, they can understand. Oh, she just doesn't know. We teach her. It's okay. There's more patience. But because I'm black, they're like, well, why don't you know? I don't want to eat sweet potato and salad and chicken.
I'm now wondering. I'm now wondering whether the fact that I'm not married is because I can make my own banku. I don't know.
I can't talk for you, but I know that banku, again, like pan and yam, these foods were when we were in the fields working hard, doing physical labor. It's not everyday banku and yam. It would just go on the chest. A delicacy.
It's hard work. It's hard work.
But also, it's a meal that is very fortifying, because when these meals were created, because we didn't have anything, and we were out doing physical hard labor, I needed the energy to sustain ourselves. You cannot tell me you work on the buses and you're eating banku every day. What for?
Oh, you cracked me up. But that's perfect. That's perfect, because actually a lot of the stuff we take as norm in our community, we're missing the historical context.
100%.
To that. But yeah.
So I think America, they call it grits. We call it gari. I'm not sure what you guys call it.
Yeah, gari.
Why are we eating that? Because we didn't have anything, and that's what we used to have. And a lot of the foods come from having nothing to create something.
Yeah.
And that is why it's not everyday jollof rice. Jollof rice is a meal that should be shared in celebration, like a wedding, a funeral. We love funeral as well.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Like, that's what those foods are really for. And I'm happy to eat those foods, but I'm not cooking it every day. If I cook it every day, it means I don't love you. That's what it means. It means I want your life insurance. That's what it really means.
Yeah, but also you get bored of it if you eat it every day. It takes the specialness out of it.
But that was the requirement of the men that were from Africa that thought, okay, what can you do here? And then I guess from women, it's a mixed bag. So some women really like me and we get along. Some women do not like me, because there's a thing about being probably the only black woman in the space, is the comfortability. When you're in a space and you're the only black person, you don't have to worry about the other black person up showing you or being better than you in some kind of way. Sometimes there is a lot of competition amongst black women, and I really try to remove myself from that, but unfortunately it's embedded in our culture. So it's just like, you then find the other black woman is looking at your hair. Where's the hairline? Where's the lace line?
Wow.
If it's in the workplace, how far are they progressing? What are they doing? And obviously, probably the one that's probably the worst one is, again, this, I call them ring hunters, run into the aisle looking for engagement, looking for husband. And then when they get the husbandship, is what I'm going to call it, they've graduated, they've up level in their game, they're now elevated to wife level. Wife is now in their Instagram bio description.
Oh, wow.
And they've hit new realms. And then when you have a child and you become a mother, again, you elevate again. And you see people that are single or not married as different to you. And that happens a lot amongst black women. And I've got black friends, female friends who, I really get along, but their character is very different. They're non-competitive in the space.
Yes.
That's the difference. Or it seems like, I'm black, she's black, she has that, I want that too.
Oh, yes. That's
the problem as well. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a mixed bag. But like I said, I have got female friends that are black, and the love I have for them, I'm very grateful that they are that way, that they are only anything but supportive and not trying to kind of pull me down. But unfortunately, I've been in spaces where I've come across black women that have been very negative. I had an interview experience that was really bad, and it was a white head of service and a black female manager, and she would have been my line manager if I had got the job. It was a regular interview. It was career coaching for young people at the time. It was a good interview, and it got to the point where the head of service became uncomfortable because the black woman was then basically picking up my work experience and telling me how she can do that as well. Oh, you do coaching, I coached you. Oh, I did that as well. Oh, I can do that. I do this. And I'm just like, who is interviewing who? What have I said that has triggered you so much that you now need to prove to your manager that you can do my job when you're looking for someone to do the role and you're already above me? And I didn't get the job, and I know why, because I don't think she wanted to manage me, because it's too much for her.
Yes. Wow. And this goes towards, rather than actually being in a position where you're opening the door for somebody else to come in, right? Uplift somebody else, becomes this crab mentality of, oh, actually, no, I can't. That person knows more than me. Therefore, my job must be, that's insecurity.
It is, but you know what? I'm not angry with her, because it must be hard. How hard does she work to get there? And now I want to come along and be doing this thing and making. We have bills to pay. We've got a head to pay for. My dear, if I join you, I can't join you, because how insecure and how stressed is she that she's done that? That's a long side. That's not me. That's her experiences that influenced that. That she's just said, you know what, I can't have anyone else come and compete with me. I can't do it.
I mean,
and I think
I get a competition, but at the same time, I've always looked at it. Okay, what can I steal from you? What your knowledge can I get from this person?
Yeah, but no, you don't want to do the brain. You're running in stress, and now you want to go and do it. But it's
okay. So, we're nearly done. I've got maybe a handful of questions.
Okay.
But this bit, so do you consider yourself to be politically active in a Black community? And can you give some examples of activities which I think you're going to blow it?
I say that I'm quietly active in the Black community. Yeah. So one of the things that I didn't do during the protests 2020, I didn't go to protest formally. I didn't go because I didn't want to catch COVID-19 and get to home and make her sick. That was the main reason why I didn't go. Yeah. And I remember people shouting at me, it was a time in history, why didn't you go? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I didn't want to protest. But what I did do is I applied to sit on the board of the university. That's what I did do. And that's when I had my interview, and that's when I got the position at the university to speak in those spaces.
Yeah.
And then when I did that, when I got the position at the uni, it was about probably October time. So I started September, and around October time, I left mental health services altogether and moved into HR, and I moved into quality and diversity work. Yeah. So I'd say that I'm 100% an activist of Black people, but I'm a quiet one. And I have to be at the front doing a speech with TikTok or Instagram. I have no desire to be famous or to be known for those things. I just think that there's work needs to be done. And what I do as well, I do a lot of work one-to-one with people. Yeah. So when I was in the mental health team, I managed a group of Black women who were, I call them aunties because they were aunties.
Yeah.
They were older than me by far, and they're all Nigerian. I think one was from Sierra Leone, but they're basically all African. Yeah. And there was one auntie in particular, she was just so, everything was just harsh, just heavy. And I remember when I took over the service, they were like, oh, watch her, she's a Rottweiler.
Oh.
She's really argumentative, she's uncooperative, she's not good. And then, you know, as I got to say, I was like, you don't understand her. She's just loud because she's Nigerian. Yeah. And that's her character. And I actually took time and said to her, like, I want to see you go forward. I'm going to teach you what it is to be professional, and what it is to sometimes be more calm to get what you need from things. And we still have a good relationship now. We talk, we chat, we laugh. And every single one that I've worked with in those teams, in that team in mental health, I've now attended 5 different leaving dues. They've all gone doing different jobs. One's done a master's, one's looking to move here, one's doing this. And that's just the people that I've helped in the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I do coaching for people that have left university and aren't in the careers they want to be in. And majority of people were Black.
Yeah.
And I will continue that work as well. So I'm definitely in the space of activism, but again, I'm just not necessarily with the OBE. Maybe one day, who knows? But I'm not at the forefront in the way that others are, you know. But I am definitely doing the work.
Yeah.
And when I meet Black people that I think just need a bit of a helping hand, who've not had that experience of anyone teaching them how to be professional, or how to navigate the space. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, you have to learn how to navigate the corporate space.
Yeah.
If you haven't got knowledge, you're only going to get so far. So I always sit with those people, and I'll be like, okay, if I see you're trying to do something in the space, I'm going to push you towards doing it. One of the girls I managed, she's younger, she was wanted to do psychology. She's like, oh, I'm not sure. I said, don't be silly, go into psychology.
do
She's
it.
now at UCL doing the masters, finished up masters, got a brand new job. The other girl wanted to become midwife. She's now in the first year of midwifery school. And I took some all the things, I said to them, you will not be here for long. Oh, I don't know. You will not be here for long.
Yeah.
There's more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm more proud of the older women, because one of them's in their 60s and they've been doing support work for years.
Yeah.
And no one's told them, why don't you become a manager? Or why don't you become a senior support worker? Why don't you go and do an advocacy course? No one has encouraged them, because they, again, that mindset of, oh, at least I have a job, or they're keeping me on, I'm employed. And it's just changing that mindset and pushing them forward. So yeah, 100%, I believe I am that person, but I don't talk about it. And I don't shout about it either. I need today.
Well, people who do the work often don't, because
100%.
they're doing the work, they want to do the work, not for image, for image sake.
Yeah.
I'm quite interested with the way you're talking about especially like the 60-year-old women. So what personal values do you think fellow Black people have?
Personal value?
Yeah.
In what context? Give me like an example so I can frame my answer.
So with the older generation of women that you were helping, what personal values did you see in them for you to be able to say, you know what, I want to invest a bit of time in you to push you, because you can go forward and you can be a manager? Because
they understand the situation, because they're frontline workers. So if a customer or resident, I can't remember what term I'm to use for them these days, is going through I don't know, an episode of some sort, and they're really not very well, these aunties will go and clean the whole flat for them, help them go and do food shopping. They will sit and talk to them and encourage them. And they might not understand the nuances of mental health and the medication that's needed to go with it, but they give their time and their energy, and they nurture. And that's what is missing from the care and support, as a whole is missing, that nurturing. Nothing beats it when an auntie is nurturing you and she's in your kitchen cooking for you, rubbing your head, telling you it's okay. Like that nurturing, that 20 years of some of them are grandparents, of raising however many children, some of them in Nigeria, some of them in the UK. And then the other part is that they understand hardship. So not all of them, but they understand what it is to have nothing and now have something. And again, when you come from nothing and you create something, your mindset is different. You don't go and buy a Kanye West Yeezy shoe because you think it's going to help you.
You're right.
You know, you do things, you move differently. You're not every minute it's Ferragamo, Gucci, Prada. You might do one thing and be like, okay, let me go and buy one item so that I made it. You know, my own one is Louis Vuitton shoe. One day I'll collect the shoe one by one. I've arrived. But your mindset is not wasteful. And also, you know, people who've had mental health issues often have lost touch with their family. They're not working. There's no aspiration to work. And these aunties will sit with them and say to them, like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You're quite good at this, you know. Why don't you do this? Because they know what it's like to be someone where you haven't even got access to education. So, you know, that's kind of what I saw in them. And I thought, no, if your own children aren't helping you, today I will help you, you know. And that's why Jollof Rice comes to my house very often. And there's several brandies that sit in my cupboards. And if someone's traveling, materials coming to me, I'm going to wear a nice outfit because that's just the person that I am. And I think with my mum as well, so she obviously was British, but I call it the benefits Armageddon that happened in 2013 when they cut a lot of benefits, and they cut local authority services like down to nothing. And she lost her job of like 26 years. And I had to help her find a new job. And because she was an older adult, people were not seeing her value. And I think from that moment, I was like, you know, you're missing a beat of people that are older. They have a different way of looking at things. And to have a really good environment and a good team, we need diversity of age.
Yes.
You can't throw out the old. Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Like the picture behind you.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that's why I said, no, I'll help you. You will leave here, you'll progress. No, I'm too, you're too old, but we're here to celebrating your leaving day. So that's what.
Yeah, I suppose, hearing or not seeing many people like yourself, leave work after 26 years and they think, confidence as well. It's like, how do I get back out there? Yeah. Okay, so, first of all, you're a great person to interview because you cannot hit all these points, and it's like I don't even have to ask the questions anymore.
Oh, that's good.
So which is really great.
Okay, I talk too much. That's fine.
No. But before I can even answer the question, you're mapping it out. Yeah, okay. You're talking, but you're mapping it out, and it makes sense. And it's like I said, for me, it's gold dust. You know what I mean?
I'm glad I'm able to help. That's okay.
So, and again, you've kind of spoken a little bit about this at the beginning. So what is your perception on the people from Africa that have just arrived in the UK or Caribbean?
I'll do both. Mm-hmm. They have a lot to prove. Mm. So I coached a couple of people who were international students previously, and they have a lot to prove. They're not just coming because they felt like it. Like they've been sent here to uphold the family name, send money back home they haven't even got, and get a level of education that they can then succeed. As I call it, yield to the 5 highly favored career choices that Africans deem appropriate. So we obviously have doctor, lawyer, engineer came in 2021. They took engineering and said, okay, it's okay. Maybe they want to throw in HR as well. This is what I can't remember right now. I'll come back to you later, but it changes as each season goes by, it changes. So they have a lot on their shoulders. They're not just carrying themselves in a flight and a suitcase. Some of them are carrying their whole family. And then some of them are being compared to their siblings. So if you've got a sibling who's come in before, okay, and they're a doctor, what are you doing? You want to do music? Okay. You think you're Sumsy and Dave and Little Sims.
That's really I remember parents beating up my friends for wanting to go and play football, but now every parent wants their son to go and play football.
You see, so it's just like, again, thinking about the times as well. So they've come with pressure, and then they've come into a whole different culture, and I think it's hard for them to adapt, and also depending on what age they come.
Yes.
If they're coming younger, like 5, you probably can figure it out. If you're coming, like I'd say between 8 and above, it's hard.
Yeah. Wow.
That we have to use knife and fork here. We do things differently. We talk differently. Not unless we're in America. Just because you speak English doesn't mean the culture is the same.
Yes, you're right.
It's more difficult. Yeah. And a lot of them, they usually come on a work visa. So they get into the workplace, they've got this strong accent, but they have to progress. They have to maintain their visa. I go to work. If I don't do my job very well, I might get fired. But guess what? I can go on universal credit and I'll be sorted out. They're going to come over here. If they lose their Tier 4 visa, they're going back to their house to go and tell their parents what. Yeah. So the pressure is completely different.
Wow.
It's so much more pressure to succeed in a space that's alien to you in a sense. Let me not use Prince William's words too much in this interview. I don't want to be helpful. But it's a different environment to be in, and the pressure is on. And those people that come and don't do what their parents ask them to do, just say goodbye to your parents, because what's the point? Just you're an orphan.
That bad?
You're an orphan. Like, what's the point? There's a lot on it. There's a lot in it. Whereas, you see people in Egypt, oh, we're gonna go on a gap year. Yeah, I went to India. I was in the Philippines for a while and I was learning. Yeah, you just gone to go and do gap year and come back. No one said you go to India and set up a business.
Yeah.
Set up at home, provide for us. It's a different way of traveling. Yeah. A holiday, it's not a holiday for them. It's something they have to do. It's a quest that they need to fulfill. Wow. Does that answer the question? I feel like I want a bit of time.
No, it answered my question perfectly. Again, I think you are probably going under without me guiding you. But do you think there's a lot of distance between yourself as a Black British and say your parents. So I'll refer to your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom.
Yeah.
Between me and my mom, there wasn't much distance because we basically had the same upbringing. She grew up in London.
Yeah.
We both lived in Essex. We both experienced the same things. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's much difference between, but we're very similar in character. Yeah. So I didn't see much disparity between me and my dad. I think he ran away from the UK because he couldn't take the racism. But we're talking like early 90s in East Ham, you know, you're right, mate. What's that you eating? Oh, it smells funny, isn't it? You know, I'm talking that really intense, like pubs that they couldn't go to because it wasn't safe level. You know, when the National Front were really present in East London at the time, particularly in Essex, like Howard Wood was like BNP land. You didn't go to Howard Wood, you didn't need to. But now it's all, because everyone's migrated from East London into Essex, it's much more diverse. But back then it wasn't like that. And I think he struggled with trying to progress his career forward and provide for us, and felt America was the place where he needed to go. And I've noticed he's actually gone to the parts of America that are more southern, that are more Black. He didn't go to North America, the top. So, you know, I think between me and him, it's like he found it too hard and he changed it up. Whereas I'm not like that. I'm here. I've dealt with it. I'm going to keep dealing with it. And things I don't want to, that I think that need to change, I'm going to put myself in a position to change them. So I think there's a difference between our cultures. And also he was born in Nigeria, which I have no understanding of. So then I wouldn't understand what it is to be a child living in Lagos and to be the only boy in the family and what that means. And I wouldn't understand that, you know, and not being a man as well and having that responsibility and that pressure. So yeah, I think that's how I describe the two.
Yeah. And my last question is, what about your identity and race that makes you happy?
I like the fact that I'm different. You know, I like the fact that I'm not the same. Who wants to be the same? What's it supposed to say? Everyone's too busy trying to be different but acting the same. I'm not here for that. Like I like that I think differently, that I see things differently. You know, I think my experiences often spark my creativity and they guide me in what I want to do in my life. So, you know, I think I've grew up in a very white dominated area. I ran to a very Black area. I've worked with people in mental health from different backgrounds. I understand, you know, what Diwali is for, but then I know when it's gun independence, we should be checking ourselves as well. Like I get it. And even though I am Nigerian, I'm sure you know, I have a very heavy influence of Ghanaian people around me. All my friends are from Ghana.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know more Twi than I do Yoruba at this point. But I like that. You're not going to get Banku out of me, but you're going to get some rice and peas though, and some much. So I like the fact, but also I love a chippy tea as well. Like fish and chips, oh my gosh, on the South End, any day, mate.
Hey,
go between.
Pie and mash for me. I grew up in East London.
Listen. And that Cumberland sausage, when it hits right, that raw breakfast, you don't even know. Like honestly, like you know, and I love that. I can go between the Cockney woman to when I said to me, you, London's Lagos in 6 seconds. Yeah, Auntie Funke comes out when I'm talking, you know, and even like now, my friends out, you know, me, I know about Kutukau, I know these things. And then me and Sina, we do stuff, and I'm just learning all these things that are different to me, you know, and I've got my little West Indian vibe in me. Someone calls me artist sometimes, whatnot. But I love the fact that I can just jump across all these things and I'm still me, and that makes me.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I like about it. And I'm just very open to different people's cultures and understanding and learning. And I guess without having that exposure to those particular places, I wouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
Maybe I would just be Nigerian and only see that for what it is. And as much as I love being Nigerian and I love saying I'm of Nigerian heritage, there are some parts of my culture that I don't really approve of.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's good that I'm British because then like I can be myself in that space.
Yeah. So
things like going to Man and bending with me and selling hot water is my worst nightmare. It is. I've got lower back issues. I can only bend so far. When it's time to prostrate the party, I have to do this to go. I can be prostrating each time and still get up. in my age. Like, it's a serious thing.
It's, and is it even necessary?
I think obviously you don't frustrate, but for us it's the highest form of respect.
Yeah.
And I think there are some people that you need to give them that respect.
Yeah.
100%. So necessary, but obviously the physical impact on me is that if I keep bending down in 5 minutes, my back is going to be asking, what are you doing? So that's what I'll contend with, it's now and again. But for me to be coming with the hot water and wearing a house dress and to come and kneel to hold the bowl, for some women, they feel that's their pride and joy. This is my worst nightmare, because you know where the sink is. And again, it's that thing about still having that feminism inside of me, but still, but then that kind of meets my culture. And there are some clashes sometimes. So I like where I sit, because I can pick up the bits that I want to and let the bits other guys I don't really agree with. But I understand why it's happening, but I don't have to engage in it because I am Black British. And that's the difference. Yeah. But I like that space.
You've just given me one food for thought. What is your perception on being, what is your perception of Black feminists?
So I was talking to my Ghanaian boyfriend the other day. I thought I'd share that as well, because I've obviously gone that way as well. he was talking about the fear of feminism and how he's scared of it. And I think people have misused feminism. And my Black women, we can do better. It's not about shouting at the man, telling him that he's useless. One hand you want him to buy your weave, other hand he mustn't do this. I think we've definitely misused the term completely. And I think sometimes some women are often fighting with themselves about whether they really be a feminist when they are being subservient to their partner. And I think there's got to be a thing where, again, the way that I pick up my culture and put it down, feminism, you've got to pick it up and put it down and do the parts that really relate to you.
Interesting.
It's not one ticket for all. In my definition, feminism is equality for women. Now, I didn't say women have to do everything the men did. I just said that it's equality for women, but other people feel that it's what women can do, men can do, women can also do. And then they should attack people that don't think in that way. When you think about being Black and being a feminist, you're fighting your culture, because women are there to serve. There's no, I'm the anomaly, I'm the outlier in that. They're there to serve. The comments like, how men are, the man is cheating. You can't even open your eyes, he's cheating so much. You've lost, this is what men are like. You must continue to serve them. And in a certain space, that is accepted. But in this space, in this culture, I'm not having it. And some women are fighting themselves. Do I be a feminist or do I be single? And my thing would be, there shouldn't have to be a choice between the two of them. So just, there's a thing about what does it mean to you to be a feminist, and how do you manage that, and what space you're in, and obviously who is your partner and what are their views on it. Do they think cheating is okay? Because if they think cheating is okay, you shouldn't be with that person. You will get hurt.
It's interesting because just a couple of days ago, I was having this conversation. So I hold men's group where we do a lot of, we cover a lot of topics. And, I kept saying that actually I'm all for equality for women, but that shouldn't be a competition.
There we go.
Like I feel like a woman loses a lot if she uses her freedom and opportunities to compete with a man, because you don't need to. It's like, why compete to be the same as a man when you're at the same time saying you don't like everything a man does? And I feel like, the way I put it is that, you have the yin and yang, right? They're two energies, but they're two halves of the same thing. And if we're eliminating masculinity, that's I have a problem with that.
I think that's the definition that's the wrong definition. So again, it's that thing about people see feminism as eliminating masculinity, and that within itself is problematic, because that's not what
It
feminism
shouldn't be.
is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, people have gone to Instagram. Those that are toxic have gone, and they're talking with their, and they're calling it feminism, and it's not.
Yes.
I'd even say that my focus probably is more on gender equality, you know, about access to opportunities where you're not taken away from someone else or a particular identity, but you're just focusing on, okay, how can we all have access to this? So my thing would be, in some countries, women still can't go to school. This is a problem. This is something that I would give.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And I work in housing, so some women, there's not opportunities for women to become construction workers or bricklayers, and these jobs are very well paid. So why are we not hiring women? This is where I sit with my perception of feminism.
Absolutely.
But I didn't say that all the men that are bricklayers must leave their job and do it to women.
I mean, personally, and I said this to an ex-partner, and I said, I cannot treat a woman the same way I treat a man. Yeah. And she found it problematic. And I said, look, if me and another man get into an argument, yeah, within 2 minutes, we can go outside, we can punch up, and the next minute we'll be okay. I can't do that with a woman. So if you're asking me to treat a woman the same way as I treat a man, I'm saying no, because you're entering, you know, where we are predominantly at a stage where the violence against women is fucking huge. And you don't really want a situation where that's going to open it up to even be more encouraged. So I'm like, no, I can't do it. And it's like, but that's discrimination. And because then I'll gladly discriminate on that basis.
But that's not discrimination.
No,
again, I have this discussion all the time. When we talk about equality, it doesn't mean treating everyone the same. It means treating everybody according to their differences. There's a very big difference, and it's not one fits all.
Yeah.
You know, what works for me is not going to work for you, and vice versa. Yeah. But if I have an understanding of where you're coming from and what does work for you, and I'm in a position to make the changes to accommodate you also within that, that is equality.
That's perfect.
You know, it's not about I must treat you the same. It's like we're saying to somebody, okay, we all need to walk the line, but someone in the wheelchair needs a wheelchair to walk. No, you must walk because it doesn't work.
There you go.
Why don't you make the line fair? Yeah. And why don't you put some tracks so they can actually wall their chair down the line at the same height as someone? This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's misused in some ways. Yeah.
Oh, I can talk to you for hours.
I know, but I've got 4 missed calls. I have to go.
I'm gonna stop the recording now. Irene, you've been